Hey, welcome, Broken World Entertainment, and the full review for Episode 9, the penultimate episode of Picard Season 3. There's going to be next to no non-spoiler section in this. We'll breeze through that before we get into full spoilers. So basically, the recap for the episode, that I could say without non-spoilers, we pick up where we left off last week with Troy and Jack doing the session where they're going to open the door to see who and what Jack is, which Troy is the one who opens the red door. She instantly goes to Picard and Beverly. It's Federation Day, what's it called, Frontier Day, that's actually happening this time around. They have no real option but to go directly to the Earth, basically. At least I'm assuming it's over Earth. And by the end they have to get off the Titan. That is pretty much all I can say about this episode that doesn't spoil it. Because this is incredibly spoiler heavy. Because we practically find out everything, really. So with that, I'm gonna have to get into the spoilers. There's no other way to talk about this episode. Oh, I suppose I should give it my rating in the non-spoiler in case you haven't seen it. Check it out and then come back. I give this a 10 out of 10. It's the second episode I've given a 10 out of 10 to. Oh boy. Right. It's spoiler time. We have to. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full spoilers. So Troy is with Jack, tells him he needs to open the door, that he's not alone, she'll be there. She also asks him what the red vines are, that they look like cerebral cortexes or something. He thinks he starts seeing was it poppies type of leaves from a planet that him and his mother were on. But Troy opens the door and immediately gets freaked out and breaks the psychic link with Jack, to which Jack wants to know what the hell she saw, and she runs out of the room, runs to Picard and Beverly, and says she's got some pretty bad news as to what she saw in there. And what she saw was a Borg cube. That's right, the Borg. How does this link to Jack? Well, you're going to be finding out. So they're questioning how exactly Jack is linked to the Borg, and it turns out that the syndrome Picard had that killed him, the aromatic syndrome, I think it's aromatic syndrome, wasn't actually what killed him. That he never even actually had the disease. That's right, the reason the changelings had Picard's body and were removing parts of his cerebral cortex is because when he was assimilated as Locutus, the Borg implanted technology that laid dormant in him this whole time, which transferred to Jack, which is why Jack is a weapon. That's why he's feeling he needs to be connected. So Picard goes to speak with him because protocol now dictates that he basically has to be under lock and key because he's a danger. So Picard goes and explains it to him, and Jack goes to leave the room. There's 2 security guards there, and he instantly takes them over with his things, and he leaves the ship. His decision is to go and find the Borg, that it's the Queen. So he takes a shuttle, and Picard says to Beverly, as they see him warp off in the shuttle, they say, Picard says, he got all the best from you and all the worst from me. And Beverly's kicking herself that she never noticed it. That this thing from the Borg was possibly there. So she leaves, and Data comes in and tries to comfort Picard and asks him, is there anything he could say to comfort him? And Picard says, I don't think it'd be possible. Just a nice little moment with them. Jack then drops out of warp in the nebula thing, and he's searching. There's no signs of the Borg, and then there is. He's basically calling out for them, and he hears them, and I'm not quite. It looks like a big city, big Borg city, like remember in Voyager. But you kind of see what looks like a big section of the cube, but it has like antennas and stuff coming out. But then we go back to the Titan, and we get the crew, and they're finding out exactly what this is that was in Picard's body, and that now Jack has. So apparently the Borg modified Picard's DNA when he was Locutus, and he was essentially a receiver for the collective, which is why when he was unassimilated and we got to the likes of First Contact, he could still hear the Borg. However, Jack isn't the receiver, he's a transmitter. His DNA seems to have the code that's transmitting. And when they notice the pattern that's happening, Frontier Day, where the entire fleet is there, if you remember, where we go back to how Starfleet and stuff kept finding the Titan, was because all the ships were linked. Well, now they're kind of getting an idea of how they're being linked. So they have no option but to go to Federation Frontier Day. But as the ceremony begins, we get the space stock, bay doors opening, and the Enterprise F coming out. Yes, we finally get an Enterprise in this, and it's the Enterprise NCC 170F under the command of Elizabeth Shelby. That's right, if anyone remembers, the young commander desperate for Riker's position in Best of Both Worlds, Shelby, it's her. I believe she's Admiral Shelby now. She's in command of the Enterprise F. And as the ship's coming out, she's giving a talk and talking about how the first Warp 5 ship was the NX-01, and it was the beginning of the Federation. And I do have to point out now, obviously it's 35 years ago that Best of Both Worlds came out, but yes, they do have the original actress who played Shelby back. Boy, did she age. Like, shockingly aged. Then we get Jack beaming over to the Borg cube, or the Borg city, whatever it is, and he's walking around looking for the Queen, and you can still hear the voice saying to find me. The Titans flying along to get to uh, Federation. I keep calling it Federation Day, Frontier Day. But they're hearing Shelby's speech, and of course, they notice that she's talking about how all the ships are now linked, and they start forming this formation, this small group of ships around the Enterprise F. There's like two or three sovereign classes. I think there's two or three of the newer versions of the Stargazer type ship, and then some other couple of ships that I have no idea what they are. And they're like saying the irony of it being Shelby, because they're talking like a collective, and they're like, what an irony that the person talking like that is Shelby, the person who was a specialist in the Borg. Then Jack comes across the Queen, wants to shoot her, but she says if you wanted and could, you would have by now. And he just screams at her. We see her only from the back, we don't see her from the front. The makeup from the back anyway looks different to the original look of the Borg Queen. The Borg drones, there's a couple of them in the chambers, the regeneration chambers, look like the Borg from First Contact, to be honest, with the bits you could see of them. The Queen doesn't look like the version from First Contact, but she also, at least from the bit you can see of her, doesn't look like that weird version from Picard Season 2, which, by the way, this seems to be completely ignoring the whole what was her name, Dorati or something, her and the Borg Queen becoming one, and the Borg being goody two shoes and will ask nicely to simulate people. I don't know who is playing the Borg, but it does sound like Alison Kjurg, however you pronounce her second name, the Borg Queen from First Contact. Then we go to Data, Geordi and Beverly, and they're discussing oh, by the way, this is where we're going to find out why people weren't using the transporters. So they discovered that the sequence in the DNA, Picard's DNA, is matching the new sequence in transporter readings. And when they check the Titan, it's basically biological now in the transporter. That it doesn't read it as a pattern, it reads it as biology. Essentially, the Borg were using the changelings to put this code into every transporter in Starfleet. So every time people were transporting, they were essentially getting assimilated and didn't even know it. So the Titan drops out of warp right as Starfleet is doing maneuvers with the entire fleet. The Titan automatically gets shut down. The fleet automatically link with it and shut it down. Picard only has one chance, and to hail Shelby and inform her as quickly as possible before they lose comms that changelings have infiltrated Starfleet, and they've done it for the Borg. And then the ship starts wigging out. There's some weird noise going on. 7 of 9 seems to be in a bit of pain. They're picking up a signal, and they're like, where the hell's it coming from? We see back in the Borg thing, the city cube, whatever the hell it is. 7 says it's the Borg. Big Borg signals coming across into the ship. Connection is lost with the Enterprise F. Pretty sure Shelby is now dead, because we saw her getting shot twice the crew are getting assimilated, instantly assimilated. But it's only for people basically from the age of 25 down, I think. So basically, if you're old enough, it didn't affect you. And all the crew start turning and start saying those unassimilated must be eliminated. And they start trying to kill Shaw, Picard, Seven, all the rest. So they have to go on the run. The whole fleet now is, and we hear this, the whole fleet is under control of the Borg. We hear a commander from the Excelsior saying they managed to take back the bridge, but then we see on a computer screen the name of the ship moving up and 3 other ships coming in, and they destroy the Excelsior. Not sure which version of the Excelsior it is, whether it was the Excelsior A, B, or if it was just a brand new ship called the Excelsior, because its registry was completely different. It was not NCC 2000. So what I mean by that is it wasn't NCC 2000-A or B or something. It was like NCC 794 something. And Shaw realizes, like, they're trying to get off the Titan now, and Shaw realizes we can go to deck 11 to a loading area or something where there should be no one. So Picard tells everyone, whoever's still alive and can make it, get down to this section. The doors open and there's Raffi, Worf, Deanna. Is Beverly there, or was Beverly with them? No, Beverly's with them. Geordi and Data. They get caught, a couple of crew members. By the way, Shaw, believe it or not, Star Trek still has stun settings on phasers, because Shaw tells them set your phasers to stun the crew, not kill them. So Geordi has an idea, and he tells Data to come with him. We get a great moment with the two of them in there in the shuttle trying to power it up and stuff, while Picard and the rest of them are fighting off the assimilated. But by the way, this is the only problem, is the assimilation the crew have is the assimilation that we saw in season 2, where it's just the black eyes and the few veins. It's that type of assimilation. It's not, implants and stuff starting to come out of them. But Geordi and Data are on the shuttle, and Data's like, I don't think we could get out of this, or something on that lines. And Geordi's like, Data, could you be a bit more positive? And Data's like, I hope we die quickly. So Shaw is putting down cover fire and telling the rest of them to go, and Shaw gets hit. Shaw dies. Yeah, unfortunately we lose Shaw. I was hoping it would be Raffi, but it's not. It was Shaw. And as he's dying, Seven stays with him. Seven tells them to go. So they're leaving. She tells Raffi to go. Raffi says no. Raffi stays with her, still shooting at the assimilated crew members. She takes down the last one, and Shaw is dying, and Seven keeps calling him Captain. He says, you don't call me that, like, it's not my ship. I'm not in command anymore. It's your ship. And he says to her, 7 of 9. And he dies. They killed Shaw. So I guess we're not getting any spin-off series with Shaw, which sucks. So they get off the Titan, and Geordi has an idea that, oh, by the way, the whole fleet then turn to target. And the reason they don't get the shuttle is because the shuttle is not connected to the fleet. Which, when Data explains that, 7 of 9 says the robot is right. He kind of looks at it and is like, what? So Geordi has an idea, and they warp back to the Fleet Museum. And you're thinking, are they going to take one of these ships? Because I already kind of clicked, he needs an older ship that's not going to be connected. And there's an older ship, alright. So he brings them to what looks to be Hangar Bay 12, and they ask, like, so what's the plan here? And he goes, well, I have a ship. And they're like, okay. And he says, like, I was going to keep this as a surprise and show you one day, but there's no time like the present. The doors open, you start seeing a silhouette. It's the Enterprise D. The USS Enterprise NCC 1701D. And when they go, how the hell? Geordi explains it is the actual saucer section of the Enterprise D. He retrieved it off of Viridian 4. It was a 4-3. I think it's 4 that it crashed on. The engines and the nacelles they got from another ship. And he doesn't actually, I don't remember him saying where the body was from, but it is the original saucer section. And Data gets emotional, and he's like, I don't know why, but I'm feeling emotional about this. And Deanna's like, you're not the only one, Data. And then we get a bit of a reference to something with the Enterprise E, which I know we've all been wondering, where the hell is the Enterprise E? Geordi just goes, well, we can't really use the Enterprise E now, can we? And with that, they all turn and look at Worf, and Worf goes, that wasn't my fault. So it's like, is it damaged or is it destroyed? Where is it? So we get a fantastic shot then of them all coming onto the bridge, and it turns on, and we get proper lighting. It's the original bridge. It's not even the bridge from Generations with the panels at the side, like the computers at the side. It's the TNG bridge, and they're all like, it's perfect, it's this is that, and Geordi's been building it over the years, rebuilding it, everything else. Worf starts going, I prefer the weapon systems on the Enterprise E, it was more advanced, blah blah blah. And Deanna's like, Worf? He's like, it's perfect. Picard comes down, he's looking at the plaque, the Enterprise plaque, and he says, being here right now with all of you in this very moment, I realise what I've always missed about this. And he says, the carpet. And basically then it gets to the point of him saying, look, I can't ask you to do this again, but we kind of have to do it. And Riker's like, Captain, we're always with you no matter what. You're our family, we're yours, we're the crew, the Enterprise E, D, even. Well, actually, he just says the Enterprise. I'm just noticing now, because I'm also looking at the images of the ship, the scuff marks on the bottom of the saucer module from where she crashed. But, he gives the command, like, take your position. Oh, and Data is, like, putting his hands on his old chair, and he's like, hello, chair. And he immediately removes it. He's like, you're absolutely sure this thing isn't connected to the other ships? And Jerry's like, yeah, you're safe, kind of. And they all take their positions, and Picard says, like, make it so, and sits in the captain's chair, and we get the proper engage. And the end of the episode is the Enterprise D warping out to go and fight back at Earth. And that's the end of the episode. What an episode, and what an ending. Good God, what an ending. And it's not a 25% different Enterprise D. It's the proper Enterprise D that we all knew and loved for 7 seasons and 1 movie. And that's the episode. As I said, 10 out of 10. Definitely didn't, like, you kind of had a hint it might have been the Borg, but it didn't make sense. But the way it was revealed, cool. So yeah, that's it. Next week, unfortunately, is the last episode. Didn't think we'd ever hear ourselves say unfortunately for our last episode of Kurtzman era Trek, but thankfully he had absolutely nothing to do with this season. So again, 10 out of 10. The episode is called Vox. Enterprise D is back. They're on the bridge and they're going to kick ass. And with that, I'll leave it there for this one. So cheers, and I'll catch you all in the next one.